It happened in a single second, but it felt like a slideshow. Champagne glass in my right hand. Crushed ice melting between my fingers. My wife turning her head toward me. Not with affection, not with surprise, but with that tight, PR smile she uses when she bumps into old co-workers she never liked. Then her friend leaned in, some guy in a velvet jacket and no socks, and asked the question I didn't expect to shatter me. Wait, who's he? She didn't answer right away. Not my husband. Not that's Oren. Not even he's with me. She just stood there, blinking, like she was calculating what version of the truth would cause the least friction in her carefully staged universe. And when she did speak, oh, that's just Oren. Not my partner. Not my +1. Just. That's when I did it. I laughed. Out loud. The kind of laugh you let out when something inside you caves in and there's no one around to hold it up. I didn't make a scene. I didn't scream. I just walked over and reached for her hand, calmly, like nothing was broken yet. She yanked it away, whispered through clenched teeth. Don't let them think we're a couple. I took a step back, looked at her for the last time the way I used to, as if she were the center of some constellation I couldn't map. And then I said it. From this moment, we're not. I left the party, but what I found when I got home made that moment look like a warm-up. Because sometimes betrayal doesn't wait to be discovered. It leaves receipts. When I got home that night, the house was quiet. Not peaceful. Quiet in that eerie, surgical way that makes you feel like an intruder in your own life. The kind of silence where every sound you make feels like a mistake. I didn't turn on the main lights. I didn't need to. The glow from our bedroom was enough, a soft, pulsing blue. I assumed she'd left a lamp on. But the closer I walked, the more I realized it wasn't a lamp. It was her laptop. Open. Still running. Still logged in. She must have left in a hurry to the party. And Elira, for all her sleek composure, was careless with technology. She never logged out. Never used a password manager. Never closed tabs. And tonight, for the first time in years, I let myself look. The screen wasn't showing a browser. It was a chat window. One of those minimalist ones that doesn't even show timestamps unless you hover over them. The last message she sent? He won't be a problem. He never is. I felt something inside me curdle. My name wasn't in the chat. Neither was the other person's. Just a string of messages, all hers. Calm, cold, clinical. Like she was reporting on an experiment. Like I wasn't a person. Just data. She talked about how I fade into the background, how I don't ask questions, how I just let things go. She described me like I was a passive object. An inconvenience she could mute with a smile. A buffer between her and any suspicion. Then she wrote something that made my hands physically shake. He thinks we're still trying. It's almost sweet. Sad, but sweet. I sat down slowly. My chest was tight. I wasn't crying. Not yet. My face felt hot, my throat dry, like I had swallowed a glass of needles. I scrolled back, trying to find context. Who was she talking to? There were no names. No emojis. Just that eerie professionalism that only comes from people who have a lot to hide. I closed the laptop and just sat there in the dark for almost an hour. I didn't move. I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I just kept hearing her voice from earlier. Don't let them think we're a couple. And now I knew why. It wasn't shame. It wasn't nerves. It was strategy. But what she didn't know, not yet, was that I'd finally stopped being just Oren. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. I sat on the edge of the bed in total darkness, listening to the refrigerator hum. The wind nudged the windows, the neighbor's dog bark once and fall silent. At 4:17 a.m., I stood up without knowing why. I just moved. Like my body decided something before my mind caught up. I went back to her laptop. This time, I didn't look at messages. I opened the file browser. Most people hide things in obvious places, deep inside folders labeled taxes or work stuff. But Elira? No. She had a folder on her desktop with a beige icon labeled June Photos. She hated that trip. She called it the most boring weekend she'd ever spent sober. So I clicked it. Inside were 41 files. Not photos. Not JPGs. PDFs, screenshots, scans, documents, hotel invoices, confirmations, a flight to Lisbon, a train to Vienna, a dinner reservation for two under a name I didn't recognize. L. Merrick. That name stuck out because our anniversary is in June. And she told me she was in Montreal that weekend for a team-building retreat. Meanwhile, L. Merrick had booked a double room at the Hotel Erzberg in Austria. 2 nights. 1 king bed. I Googled the name. Nothing obvious. No social media, no LinkedIn. But then I checked her email drafts. Not the inbox, just the drafts. There was a message she never sent. Or maybe she did and forgot to delete the copy. It read, "Don't use your name again. Use the initials like we agreed." He saw the hotel receipt. I covered it, but next time be careful. She was covering tracks I didn't even know I was supposed to be looking for. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the screen, and for the first time, I didn't feel sad. I felt cold, clinical, like I was reading someone else's life. And maybe I was. Because whoever Elira had been with wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a system, a network of lies, a process, and I had just tripped over one of the blueprints. I made a copy of everything, emailed it to myself, then printed one page, the hotel invoice with both names, and left it folded on her pillow. No note, no explanation, just paper. Then I left the house. I didn't slam the door. I didn't text her. I didn't check the time. I came back around noon. I didn't plan to. I thought I'd stay gone longer, maybe check into a motel or wander through a bookstore until I could feel something again. But my phone was at 9%, and all my chargers were at home, along with the only shirt I actually liked wearing. So I walked back in expecting silence. Instead, I walked into jazz music and the scent of grapefruit candles. It felt curated, artificial, like someone had staged a cozy afternoon for a magazine shoot. She was standing in the kitchen, holding a glass of wine. At noon, wearing that green silk robe she only brought out when she wanted something. And she was smiling. Not panicked. Not guilty. Smiling. As if I had forgotten something, and she was ready to remind me. "Hey, babe," she said, like nothing happened. "Want to eat something?" I didn't answer. Just walked past her into the bedroom. The invoice was gone. When I came back out, she was leaning against the counter like she was waiting for applause. "So, are we doing this cold shoulder thing? Or are you finally going to talk to me like an adult?" I wanted to scream. I didn't. I wanted to throw the empty wine glass against the wall and ask her who Merrick really was. I didn't. I just stared at her and said quietly, "You booked a king bed in Vienna while telling me you were doing trust falls in Montreal." She didn't flinch, didn't even blink. Then she exhaled sharply, shook her head, and said, "You're reading into things again." That line hit harder than anything else. Because she'd used it before. Years ago, when I asked if she still loved me. Months ago, when I asked why she didn't come to bed anymore. And now, again, when I caught her red-handed. She had weaponized dismissal. Her smile wasn't softness. It was armor. I reached into my jacket, pulled out my phone, and played the voice memo I had recorded that morning. My own voice, reading the entire message from her drafts folder, including the part about he saw the hotel receipt. That cracked the mask. Her face dropped. For the first time in a long time, I saw something real. But what came next wasn't an apology. It wasn't regret. It was worse. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Do you really think anyone would believe you over me?" I didn't say a word. Just grabbed my keys and walked out again. Because I wasn't the one who needed to be believed. 3 days passed. No texts. No calls. Just silence from Elira. It didn't feel like peace. It felt like a dead frequency. Like the signal between us had finally gone static. But it didn't stop me from checking my phone every 20 minutes, from refreshing my email like some sort of ghost in his own inbox. I wasn't hoping she'd reach out. I was hoping she wouldn't. And I didn't know which of those made me feel more pathetic. I stayed at a cheap hotel off the highway. The kind where the coffee machine smells like burnt dust and the soap comes in little paper wrappers. I didn't unpack. Just laid on the bed in my clothes, lights off. TV flickering something I wasn't watching. On the third night, just as I was drifting somewhere between sleep and that awful blankness where thoughts get loud, my phone buzzed. It wasn't her. It was a name I didn't recognize, Marcy Fallon. The message read, "I saw your name on the invoice. We should talk." I stared at it for a solid minute. My first instinct was to ignore it, maybe a scam, maybe Elira trying to bait me from another number. But then the second message came in. I was with Merrick in May. "I think we've both been lied to." I replied with a single word, "Call." She did. Marcy had a voice like someone who'd been through it. Calm but tired. Measured, like she'd rehearsed this moment, but still wasn't sure how it would land. She told me she'd been seeing him, the same man from the hotel receipt, for almost a year. Said he was between divorces, always flying out for consulting jobs, always promising that once things with his ex were officially over, they'd travel together. Then one night she found a receipt in his glove box. The same hotel, same weekend, but booked under my wife's email address. She Googled the name on the invoice. Found me. Your wife isn't the only one good at lying, she said. He's been collecting women like air miles. I asked if she knew where he lived. She said no. He was always careful. Never let her see his driver's license. Never gave her his home address. Just hotels, restaurants, and promises. But I do have his burner number, she added. And photos. You want them? I said yes. She sent them. And that's when my heart dropped. Not because of him, but because of the location in one of the photos. It was my backyard. Elira hadn't just been lying about where she went. She brought him to our home. I didn't sleep after that. I sat in the hotel chair, the one with the wobbly leg, just staring at the photo Marcy sent me. Not because of the man. I already hated him. Already erased his face 100 times in my head. No, what froze me was the background. The photo was taken during the day. The light hit the fence behind them at the exact slant I'd memorized from Lazy Sundays. You could see the corner of the garden Elira never watered, the half-broken wind chime we bought on impulse from a thrift store in Maine, and, just barely, the roofline of our neighbor's house. Terry, the friendly guy next door. Retired Navy. Always waving, always smiling. Always mowing his lawn on the dot every Saturday morning like it was a ritual. I don't know why, but I felt it in my gut. Terry knew something. He'd always been out there. Always had eyes on our yard. And unlike me, Terry noticed things. So the next morning, I walked back to the house. Elira wasn't home. Her car was gone, probably working late, or reconnecting with herself, or whatever PR excuse she was using now. I didn't go inside. I walked next door and rang the bell. Terry answered in gym shorts and a faded Fleetwood Mac t-shirt. Surprised to see me, but not unfriendly. Hey, Orrin, he said. Everything all right? I asked if we could talk. He nodded once and stepped aside. We sat on his back porch. I didn't waste time. I showed him the photo. I pointed to the corner of the fence. I said, "You were probably outside that day, weren't you?" He looked at it, quiet for a while. Then he let out this low, tired sigh and said, "I was wondering when you'd come around." That sentence, like he'd been holding it in, like he'd been waiting for me to wake up. I didn't want to get involved, he said. But yeah, I saw them. A few times. Out here. In your yard. Sitting where you usually grill. I asked him if he ever talked to the guy. He said no, but he remembered his car. Black Jag. Plates from New Jersey. Parked around the corner, never in your driveway. Like he was trying not to be seen. I asked if he could do me one favor. Check his old security footage. He'd mentioned once that he installed a motion cam facing the alley for raccoon problems. If that camera caught even a glimpse of the car, I'd have a license plate. And maybe, finally, a name that wasn't hidden behind initials. He agreed. Said he'd look through his cloud backups that night. As I walked back to my car, I realized something strange. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad either. I felt focused. Because for the first time, the pieces weren't floating. They were forming something sharp. Terry texted me at 6:43 the next morning. I hadn't even poured coffee yet. Just one sentence lit up the screen. Got something. You'll want to see this. I walked over within minutes. He didn't say much, just handed me his tablet and pressed play. The footage was grainy, time-stamped for 2 weeks before the party. The camera caught the edge of my driveway and part of the alley where the hedges thin out. A black Jaguar slowly eased into frame. It parked just off-screen, but not before the plate came into view. Clear. Legible. 2ZC, M97. Then came the real punch. A moment later, Elira stepped into view. Not rushing, not sneaking. Laughing. Holding a brown bag in one hand and iced coffee in the other like it was a normal Tuesday. Then, another figure. A man. Slightly taller than me. Designer coat. Sunglasses at dusk. He took the bag from her. She kissed him. Not a quick, panicked kiss. A long, relaxed one. The kind you give when you've done it a dozen times before. But that wasn't what made my chest go tight. Someone else was in the frame. A second woman. She stepped out of the Jaguar and joined them briefly before turning to light a cigarette. I paused the frame. Her face was partially turned, but I recognized her. The short hair. The gold hoops. The same woman from Elira's creative agency team. Her name was Rena. She had been in our house more than once, helped decorate the office, gave Elira branding advice, once brought a bottle of wine and laughed with me about married life being a campaign. I suddenly realized something that made my skin crawl. This wasn't just an affair. It was a network. Elira wasn't hiding things from everyone. She was only hiding them from me. Her world, her social circle, her work family. They knew. Maybe not all the details, but enough. Enough to stay quiet. Enough to treat me like some character in a story they'd already agreed on. I asked Terry if I could have a copy of the footage. He said yes, already emailed it to me. I thanked him, then stood there in his doorway for a second, staring at the street. It looked so normal. Cars and driveways. Mailboxes upright. The world hadn't tilted. But I had. And there was no way back. That night, I didn't text Elira. I didn't call Rena. I did one thing. I called Marcy. I asked her one question. And her answer changed everything I thought I knew about who started this fire in the first place. Marcy picked up on the first ring. She sounded calmer this time, like the weight had shifted from shock to clarity. I told her what I'd seen on the footage. I told her about the second woman, the license plate, the kiss in the driveway. She didn't seem surprised. Then I asked the one question I hadn't dared to ask before. How did you find me so quickly? There was a pause, just long enough to mean something. I didn't, she said. Someone sent me your name. From an anonymous email. A burner account. I think they wanted you to know. I felt a strange chill. Who? I don't know, she said. But I have a theory. And I think you do too. And she was right. Because later that night, I checked an old photo on my phone from last year's holiday dinner. One of the few times Elira looked genuinely happy. And there in the background was Rena, blurry, half-turned, looking not at the camera, but at me. Not smiling. Not faking. Watching. Something in her face made sense now. She knew. And maybe, just maybe, she had been the one to break ranks. To quietly send my name to Marcy. To nudge the first domino. I'll never know for sure. But it doesn't matter. Because here's the truth. I left. I walked out for the last time 2 days later. No screaming, no revenge speech, no shattered dishes. I packed what mattered. I left the rest. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. And for the first time in years, I felt real. Not invisible. Not minimized. Just present. I found a new place. It's not much, just a one-bedroom above a bookstore that smells like cedar and old pages. The landlord has a dog that barks at mailboxes. It's perfect. I still check that video sometimes, not to torture myself, but to remind myself what survival looks like. And if you're watching this and you've been there, betrayed, discarded, overlooked, let me say this. It's not your fault they stopped seeing you, but it's your power to make yourself visible again.